Hello, this is Courtney Baxter. I am sitting here in FaithWorks of Abilene with Mr. Mark Mcdonald. We're going to get his take on the current autism story with Aiken. I'm sure y'all have all heard of it. His father has finally stood up for autism. Way to go. By the way, we are happy and pleased with what you have done, but what we want to get to the world is it's not just Aiken who has been bullied, and this has been going on for years in our schools. Teachers that you looked up to, just think of how many of them may have done this before. Your son's teacher, your daughter's teacher, any special needs teacher could have been doing this already. This is what we want to cover. Do you want cameras in your schools? Because I do. This is a very serious situation, and right now we're going to get Mark's take on it. Mark, you being, having autism and having two kids with autism, I'd like to ask you a question. Now, with Aiken's dad saying that Aiken, was terribly hurt by this, and we can clearly hear him crying, but no one understands the vast concept of how hurt he was. Was this just like if another kid had bullied him, or does this mean more because this is somebody that his dad had trusted to take care of him and shelter him, and instead of sheltering him, they were being the ones to be rude to him, degrading to him, and disrespect him? So does that have a different take on it than another kid bullying him?
Well, of course it does. When you have your authority figure, the one you're supposed to look up to, the one that's supposed to be sheltering and protecting you in that kind of circumstance, take advantage of you and put you down, not only personally, but it's being done in front of everyone. It's being told, this is your place. You are nothing. You are the lowest of the low. You are the one that's allowed to be picked on. So not only does it hurt more than the kids, it also encourages the other kids around them to pick on them and to set this up, and then sets up that internal expectation of, oh, this is just normal for me. This is just what I need to expect in life to be picked on. Going through school myself, I was, of course, way before they had all the diagnosis of autism and so on, and I was undiagnosed. I had at least one of my mainline teachers pick on me very severely, but I didn't even realize it because I was so used to being picked on at that point. My parents were incensed at how this teacher treated me, but I was like, well, whatever, because I was used to being picked on. I was used to, One of the problems with autism is when you are attacked and upset, you become less able to communicate. The more upset you are, the less you are able to communicate effectively, and the more you become overwhelmed by everything around you. So, it tends to make us bully back. Everybody gets bullied at one time or another. Unfortunately, people with autism cannot defend themselves because the more pressure that comes upon them, the less able they are to communicate, the less able they are to deal with things, and the more likely they are to have a meltdown where they lose control completely. This encourages the bullies, oh, here's a target who doesn't fight back and who does funny things when I push his buttons.
So do you think that even the kids, we know that teachers are a big thing, but do you think the kids led with unsupervised from a teacher, because we know often nowadays that classes are unsupervised while the teacher goes to the teacher lounge, make copies or whatever. We know that the classrooms are now unsupervised because they think, oh, the kids are more mature nowadays, so we can leave them alone. So do you think that in an environment like that, where there's no teacher and things happen in the classroom, do you think that it might be a good idea not only to have the camera to protect the students, but to protect the teacher while she's not in the room, so that she knows what's going on, so that not only can we stop it with the teacher bullying the child, but also stop it with the other students bullying the child while they're in the classroom?
Right. Agreed. It would help a lot in many situations, especially now that they've got the storage amount that they can keep these kind of tapes. For one, it would not only keep them watch over the teachers, it would help them to, if they're not there, to be able to see what happened in their absence. And the third thing is, if an incident happens, they can review it and see, well, what did happen? I was over here doing this, or I was trying to take care of 5 different situations, so I didn't see all the context of what's going on. And especially with your autistic kids who, when they get upset, lose the ability to communicate, they can come back and say, here's what was going on. Here's what I was doing. Here's what I was feeling that you couldn't see because of the context of whatever, and because you were distracted by so many other things.
So not only would it help the students, but it would also help the kids with autism, and maybe help the teachers understand their student that has autism, so that they know what is it that's setting this student off, what is it that's upsetting the student, how is the student responding, how can I prevent this from occurring?
Right. And what can we do next time that will work better? Because, like I said, when they become upset, the first thing they lose is the ability to communicate. So when you're becoming upset, your communication degrades, and it doesn't always just go away, but it'll degrade, and then it will eventually stop. Well, when you're in the middle of a situation is the time in which you need communication the most. And if you're losing control, is not the time to say, okay, well, what's going on? Well, if you can come back later and say, okay, here's what's going on, that really does help. That really does show, and it shows, would allow them to communicate about the situation later when they're no longer overwhelmed by it.
That's awesome. Being a parent of autism, if this would have happened to one of your children, how would you have felt, and how would you have responded to the situation if you had taken some of the same steps? I mean, it being as severe, I don't know if you've watched any of the videos. I know we had that little bit of correspondence on Facebook where you really couldn't watch one of them, and and I completely understand that it hits home a lot worse than it hits home with me. I mean, I have to watch them. I'm the one posting them. I have to know what's in it. But for a lot of parents, I mean, there's a lot of parents that can't even watch it, like yourself. I mean, they just can't believe that that's what's going on, and so they're like, I really don't want to watch this. But if it went on with your child, how would that have made you feel, knowing that your child is, autistic and couldn't communicate, but yet this was going on at school, and then you found out? I mean, how would that make you feel if, say it happened here in Abilene, Texas, which is where we're at, if it happened here, and your kids were going to school, and then instead of, like, they were going to Lee, instead of the teacher being removed from the school system altogether, they moved her from Lee Elementary over to Bonham Elementary.
Right.
I mean, how would that make you feel? Because that's what it seems like happened to this other teacher, that instead of her being fired or terminated, she was moved from one school to another school in the same district.
Right.
So how would that make you feel?
Well, the main reason I was not able to watch it is because it would have made me so infuriated. It parallels some of my interactions dealing with school systems back when I was a kid, and they're better now than they used to be because they're more aware of the problem. But I know the feeling of trying to deal with bullying and the school system being incapable and incompetent to do anything about it. Now, if I had, in that situation where they just moved her around, I would have been raising ruckus with everyone I could find about it, because, okay, here we have a child abuser. Okay, no, they're not physical, no, they did not need marks, but they are taking on someone who is vulnerable. They're taking on a disabled child and using that disability to abuse them. That type of person is completely, can't think of the word, the wrong kind of person to be working with kids. They should be, basically, it's not as bad as a child molester, but the idea of this type of person should not be around children. If they find and they feel like it is appropriate to...
They're a predator.
Yeah, they're a predator. They're picking on the helpless. So, this type of person is showing predatory behavior towards disabled children. They should not be allowed to be around disabled children. And if like I said, I would be, like this father, be raising Cain, doing everything I can until this person is basically, and I would be filing formal charges in court to try and label this person as a predator of children. You know, that's not, someone who would do that kind of thing should not be around children, much less disabled children who can't defend themselves.
Another important thing is Child Protective Services is what it's called here in the state of Texas. They have them everywhere. DFACS is in Georgia,
Right.
and they're supposed to protect children. So my next question is, you know, if they have an agency that's supposed to protect children, where are they at now? Why aren't they involved in what's going on? Because, you know, if it would have been a dad or, you know, a man abusing a child in this middle of Walmart, calling a child names like bastard, so on and so forth, because that's what was said, we would have heard about it by now, and it wouldn't have been the parent bringing it to us. It would have been Child Protective Services or DFACS or the public media would have covered the story. So why is it that when something happens to a special needs child, is it not covered? I mean, do you have any thoughts on that? I mean, we know that this is being covered now publicly, but why was it not covered the second that it was found out? Because you know as well as I do, when a big story happens, the news crew is all over it, and they're normally the first ones to publicize it. This had to be publicized on YouTube, which was the very first place that it aired, and on his personal website. So what I'm wondering is, do you have any concerns to why the media didn't cover it, or why the Child Protective Services in that state has not stepped in and made it be known how they feel about it or their investigation? Because this is now a child abuse case. So don't you think they should have been involved in this?
Right. Well, part of that has to do with governments and bureaucracies. Because Child Protective Services doesn't intervene with strangers, they only intervene in inter-family problems. But there are other groups that are have specific charters to take care of children that are being abused, that take care of disabled people being abused, and so on and so forth. Those agencies should have been jumping on it. Unfortunately, with a lot of bureaucracies, you have to know what the exact right button to press is. And, you know, Joe Q Public, who's just out there, doesn't know what the right button is. They don't know who to talk to, because if they talk to the wrong service, they're likely to get a bureaucratic answer, which is, well, that's not our jurisdiction, and so we can't do anything for you. Instead of, that's not our jurisdiction, but why don't you call this specific person at this other agency? That is their jurisdiction. And so it's so easy for things to get lost in the shuffle like that. It's so easy for people who don't know what's going on. If you don't know that an autistic child cannot defend themselves in those kind of situations, you won't understand just how bad a violation that is of that child and their integrity. You know, they don't, the child looks fine to me, they don't understand. That's one of the problems with autism, is it's not visually apparent. You can't see how disabled they are. So, oh, the kid looks fine. Well, the kid can't defend themselves. They need people to stand up for them. And with a parent in a situation like this, who is facing the first level of bureaucracy he's running into is the school district and their own procedures. Well, they were obviously stonewalling and trying to cover it up. Well, that's not the appropriate reaction. Well, the next one is, okay, so I need to talk to a government agency. You know, do I talk to the local police? Well, what are the local police going to do about it? Well, somebody was calling your kid names. That's not under our jurisdiction. Well, somebody, in situations like this, it was a very good idea for him to put it out to the public, if for no other reason than to bring it to enough people's attention that someone will know what the right response is. Someone can, the community can help out. And that's one of the wonderful things about our internet, is you can get help from everywhere, where, someone who you've never had the chance to ever meet might have the answer for you.
Yeah.
So yeah, yes, there are agencies that should have taken it. Unfortunately, most of these agencies aren't very proactive, and considering the caseload that some of them have, they can't be. They're just overwhelmed. So, getting things out, getting help, when you have a problem, finding places, finding people, getting your problem out there where other people can see it so that they can give you advice is incredibly important. Because it's really easy to be overwhelmed when it seems like it's you against the world. Well, if it's you against the world, call out for help and get more people on your side.
Yeah. My next question is, he didn't have video.
Mm-hmm.
We had the audio, but what makes me so leery about the audio is what physically went on in the classroom. And my next question to you is, when you were growing up in school, before this was diagnosed, was there any physical abuse to children like you or similar to you, since we didn't know about autism back then?
Okay. Autism, one of the biggest problems is social awareness. Autistic people don't understand social situations. Now, saying that, as a kid, I got beat up any number of times by other kids and so on and so forth. I never had a teacher physically abuse me. But, because everyone knows that leaves evidence. But when someone who is unable to deal with things socially, it's really easy to then use social pressures and social awareness to be abusive. They don't leave marks, they don't leave traces, and a lot of people have this poor boundary idea, well, if I didn't touch them, then it's okay, I didn't do anything wrong. He's just a crybaby, he's just, whatever. Yes, there is physical abuse that goes on, and especially with some of your very nonverbal autistics who can't reply, there are people who will use physical abuse on them. But so many predators have learned not to leave marks, don't leave traces, don't leave, all I have to do is deny, which is what this happened in this case, is, nothing's happening, nothing's wrong, it must be your imagination, and then he caught them on tape. So, they thought as long as they don't leave marks, they're safe, they can do anything they want. Physical abuse is there, it does happen, but verbal and social abuse are more common because they don't leave marks and because the autistic children are uniquely vulnerable to it.
Okay, so we're getting ready to wrap up here. We're about 30 minutes into this, so I'd like to give you a chance to voice anything that you feel that the public needs to currently know about, that you feel is necessary. So if you want to take a couple minutes and voice your opinion.
Autism is a lifelong disabling condition. It doesn't stop when people stop being children. There's kind of this puppy syndrome in autism. Kids are cute, like puppies are cute. But kids and puppies grow up, and all of a sudden, the old dog that used to be a cute puppy, no one pays attention to anymore. There is always going to be these problems when people have autism because they will always be vulnerable. People like me who are pretty well able to communicate, pretty well able, I'm very articulate and so on and so forth, which makes me unusual in the community. I'm still vulnerable, even though I don't seem like it. I often run into situations where it gets overwhelming to me, and I'm one of the autistics doing the best. People with autism can not only succeed or in a basic level, but can succeed very well, can become leaders in fields and so on because of our very incredible focus. We're not people who will always be a burden. Given the chance and given a little bit of protection and support, we can do things that no one else can. So it's not like, they're always going to be a burden, what's the point in giving them any help? Give us some help, give us some support, and we can do things that will amaze. But leave us vulnerable, hit us, try and keep us down because we're different, and we will do nothing. We will end up being unable to function at all.
One of the things that I'd like to share with the community is you attended American Commercial or American Christian College
Adeline.
in Abilene,
Mhm.
and you got your bachelor's in psychology,
Mm-hmm.
and then you went on and almost got your master's in family
Family studies, yeah.
family studies, and this was all while dealing with the pressures of being in college, which we all know from being in college previously that college can be a little bit of a rude awakening after high school, even if you are completely social. Um, so with you being in college, what was some of the things you encountered, some of the trials you encountered? We know that you did really well in college, but what was some of the things, the hurdles that you had to accomplish and get over, and who may have been better able to help you? If what would have helped better?
All right. One of the big things with college is you're out on your own in a very highly social environment. And autistics, myself included, don't get it. They don't understand the social situation. They don't understand all the social pressures. They don't understand all the social expectations. They're off on their own and often without a safe base that they can work from. Everyone needs a safe place so that they can rest and recuperate. Autistic people need that much more. And so without this safety, without these ideas, with all these things going on that we don't understand, the failure rate is incredibly high. Not because of not being able to do the work, but because we cannot handle the environment. Now that it's better known, identifying the people with autism, because it's still very identified in adults, start explaining what's going on. Oh, that's why all these people had a problem. Oh, that's why when I tried to do a group project, the group turned on me. Even though I thought I was doing everything right. I thought I was being very helpful. Having someone who has some experience, knowing what areas they are vulnerable in, and giving these explanations to them of things everyone else that gets pretty much instinctively, will allow them to succeed. Otherwise, it's like there's a game going on, but nobody will tell me what the rules are. It seems almost like a conspiracy.
So we're like totally going off the subject here, but would it actually help people with autism maybe that whenever they enroll to explain to the college that, hey, I have a problem and this is what my problem is, and maybe if colleges, now that they're aware that this is such a growing rise, maybe if colleges gave them like a student advisor that maybe was in some of their classes, at least one student in each class that knew what was going on, and hey, I'm going to explain this to you, I'm going to hold your hand this year. I mean, not as, you can't do it by yourself, but I'm going to hold your hand in social environment. Right. I'm going to hold your hand whenever we have to go and, go to a group study session.
Right. Or at the very least, have someone there who understands autism, if not autistic themselves, who can say, oh, this is what's going on. I don't understand what happened. Okay, tell me what happened, and I will be, I've seen this, I've been through this, I can explain to you what's going on and what you need to do about it. Have at the very least a go-to person that understands. And that would be, the old word for it is mentor. And that would be amazingly helpful. It would help so many of them to keep from failing and going and ending up not being able to take care of themselves, who could otherwise go on and be brilliant.
My next question to you is, we now are covering you online, and you have a degree, and my next question is for the people with autism, adult and children, if they would like to contact you, would that be okay if they were either to contact you through the blog or to contact you online? We're setting up your account tonight, that way
Right.
you'll be able to blog back and forth with them and have your own sign-in. So Is this something that you would like to possibly join my team and give advice, not only to parents, because parents are going to call you and say, hey, my son or my daughter's doing this, explain to me how to help them. Because that's where parents of autistic children that are not autistic themselves, that's where they run into the wall,
Right.
There's not a lot of people out there that's going to say, hey, I'll help you. So they actually need more help. But then we also have the other side of the spectrum, which you have made very clear. It's adults, adults that, are being told, you're just never going to amount to anything. And we know that's not true. There's jobs that anybody can do. I mean, so why is it that, we don't have somebody to help autistic people? So that's what I kind of want you to bring on board. I can't cover everything myself. I'm pretty busy. I would like you to come on board and to help people. And then eventually we're going to get his own site set up. That's where we're headed to. So down below this webinar, you're going to have a spot to make a donation so that we can set him up on a site to have him his own place to where he can help autistic people, adult, child, people that don't have autism that want to understand it better. We're going to set him up his own blogging site so that way we can, at Parenting Online, can cover a bunch of different things. Not to mention we're going to be covering his website on there too. Can't hurt to have too many links. So you'll be able to donate down there for Mark's website, and I would like for y'all to donate. People with autism don't have much of a chance in the regular working world, so what we're going to do is we're going to set him up a site so that he can help other people maybe become better and be able to function. And he's already done this before. I got the pleasure of meeting somebody that he's currently coaching now, and I mean, he is phenomenal. He is an amazing person. I've had a wonderful conversation to him before this webinar. He's an incredible person, and all disability aside, sitting here one-on-one and talking with him, you would not be able to tell that he had autism or any form of autism. And he has Asperger's. Mm-hmm. And so, I mean, you can't really tell. Occasionally, you can kind of see that, but with him, he's kind of mastered everything. Talking with him on the phone, it's amazing that he has come from not being able to understand the world and being able to come to my side and explain things to me. It's phenomenal. If you know anybody with autism, you would know that that's not possible for very many of them. And he has come from the side of having autism, and now he can communicate wonderfully, and he can help anybody do this. Is it going to be an easy task for them? No. Just like it's not an easy task for us to go through college or to become, have this big job, making bunches of money. It's not easy. It takes hard work. But people with autism are more likely to put forth the hard work because they want to better themselves. They want to be that dependable person, and they want to make a difference in the community. We're just not giving them a chance. And that's what we need to strive to do, is give people with autism a chance to prosper. We see homeless people every day, and people stop on the side of the road and give them $1. But what people don't understand is just because people with autism may not necessarily be homeless, it doesn't mean that they need any less of our help.
Right. It's been a dream of mine since I have found out the scope of the problem and so on, to be able to help people. And that was why I got a degree in psychology in the first place, was to be able to help others as well as help with my own problems. And by having gone through the problems, be able to help other people. I would love to be able to help parents of autistic children trying to understand their parents, autistic people going out into the world, trying to deal with high school, trying to deal with college, trying to deal with relationships, people who are in relationships with people with autism. All of these things, there's such a disconnect, and getting the communication going, getting people to understand one another can solve an awful lot of this. Also giving the people the tools they need to succeed, because there are things you can learn as an autistic person, there's an awful lot of things that don't come instinctively that come to everyone else, but most of them can be learned. You just have to know what you're trying to do, you know. So anyone that has problems with these kind of things, I would love to help. I would love to work with. I am, familiar with, and one of the things that happens with autism, the coincidence of mental illness of some sort is 80%. The incidence of abuse that happens to autistic people is, I don't even know the figures. We're talking even things like molestation and so on of children, both male and female, is incredibly high. I don't have the figures, but these leave scars. They leave deep scars, especially to people who cannot defend themselves. So helping people through these kind of things and all the damage that's done to them is my dream, to help out and to bring these people out, to let them achieve their potential, rather than being crippled and alone for the rest of their lives.
All right. This has been Mark Mcdonald, and like I said, I'll have him up and online tonight. And this is the 21st, and this webinar will be posted hopefully tonight. If not, first thing in the morning, because it takes a little bit longer to put up a video. So if you don't get to watch it tonight on the 21st, hopefully it will be up by the 22nd. The schedule for everybody to come and see it, though, is set on the 27th, I believe is what I set it on. So I would like to, let all y'all know, people at Hardin-Simmons, Abilene Christian University, McMurray, any of the people going to college that feel like they have some kind of autism, or, you have an autistic child. Mark is here in the Abilene area, so if your child's getting ready to go off to school and you want somebody to help him and be his mentor and help him and walk him through, that has an education, that has done this before, feel free to contact me or Mark, either on the blog.
Even if you're not sure whether you have it or not, I can sit down with you and help you find out whether this is the case or not.
Yeah, feel free to write us on the blog, call us. My phone number is up there. It's in the contact us section. My email is also there. My email comes directly to my cell phone. This is something that's very passionate for me to cover, and this is also very passionate for Mark. So if you write in the blog, or you can find him on Facebook, Mark Mcdonald. Search for him on Facebook. You can find him, and I'm sure if you send him a message and say, "Friend me, I need help," he will be more than willing to. This is somebody that you can come to anytime you want. And I think that we may have another web session after the first month and see how this is going, and see if this actually helps anybody, or if he can bring anything else to the table, because I'm sure Mark, having autism, covers it a lot. So we'll come back in another month from today, probably on the 21st. Actually, maybe a little later into next month. Okay. But come back and we'll do another webinar and kind of let people know where you have gone. And I would kind of like to cover, how he's helped this phenomenal person that I got to meet earlier, too. This is another story that I just feel like is a blessing, because y'all are brought to the same place here at FaithWorks, and that is just phenomenal. That just is awesome. You don't even have to say his name. But it is awesome the way God brought y'all two together, and it's amazing. And now you are part of FaithWorks, and you're a part of what's being done here, so that if anybody else comes through here,
right,
they know who to call, and that is it's phenomenal. And as a matter of fact, I went through FaithWorks also, so to come up here for this reunion today, which is the reason why we're here today, it's amazing because of what has been brought here and how this was brought together. And it's been a process of 3 or 4 years for me to actually come to this spot. So it was a pleasure speaking with you.
It was fun.
And I hope that people, get a lot of information out of this, and if they have questions, I hope that we were able to answer it for them.
Right. That's my hope as well.
But I'm going to go ahead and close with, if you have any problems, I don't even really care if you're autistic or if you have a problem with autism, go ahead and post them, let us know about it.
We'll do our best.
Any kind of parenting problem, kids aren't that different. So post it. Feel free to post it. Any kind of problem you're going through. If we can't help you, surely I can find somebody who can. And I'm sure Mark could probably help you with the majority of your issues. So just post it down below this and let us know what's going on in your life. We would like you to become a part of the family at Parenting Online. So just let us know what's going on and feel free to contact us anytime you would like.
All right.